you're a God power. Get everything you ever wanted and live the life of your dreams. The Master's Course. Copyright 2010 by Richard Lee McKim Jr. All rights reserved. Let the quest for knowing begin. Another example of levels of consciousness would be our bodies. At a lower level of consciousness might be the cell. It thinks and communicates and has a mind of its own, so to speak. At a higher level of complexity and at a higher level of consciousness might be the organs. These are more complex and are composed of all the consciousness of all the cells that make it up. As a whole, it has abilities and functions that the individual cell does not. Not that their consciousness is any more able than the cell, but instead just broader in scope. At a much higher level of consciousness than the organs in our bodies is our body as a whole, us as a person. Our consciousness is much broader than any one of our organs or any one cell, because we encompass the consciousness of every cell and every organ in our entire body as one overall consciousness. Our consciousness can raise up much higher than just our body and our individual selves to an even greater and greater awareness of the whole of humanity and the whole of life and the whole of creation as one. This would be like an individual cell who at his normal level of consciousness could only imagine his own circumstances and could only communicate at the level of a cell to other cells. However, one day he raised his own consciousness up to the level of the organs and could then see and understand the connectedness he had with millions of other cells as a function of the whole. He could now imagine the function of the whole organ of which he was a part, and because his consciousness was now at this level, he could now communicate with organs and understand them and their functions. However, he could still easily see that even though he was just like all the other cells in his same organ, there were many other groups of cells that were different and it existed in different organs having different kind of existence than himself. But as exciting as this was for this little cell, he wanted to know more. So he meditated, and through great thoughts, he raised his own consciousness up to the level of a human being, a whole person. He could now see the perfection and how the cells contributed to the organs and how each organ contributed to the whole body. He could now see the beauty and wonder of everything and how he was not only connected to the other cells in his own organ, at an even higher level, he was even connected to every other cell in the seemingly different organs of the body. At this level of consciousness, he could think and communicate with human people, bodies as wholes. At each higher level of consciousness, he could not only understand that level of existence, but he could communicate and interact and create meaning at that level as well. It is much more powerful to create meaning at the level of the whole organ than it is to create meaning at the level of the lonely cell. That is the nature of operating at higher levels of consciousness. Likewise, it is much more powerful to create meaning at the level of the whole body or person than it would be to create meaning at the level of a single organ. Consciousness can also be thought of as different channels on a CB radio, the kind of two-way radios that truckers use while traveling down the highway. Let's say that normal everyday consciousness is channel 1, and that the higher level of consciousness is channel number 10. When we are thinking and conscious at the lower level of channel number 1, we can only talk and listen to all things and people on channel number 1. If we want some information, we have to ask someone or look it up in a book. That is a lower level of consciousness. All normal activities and thoughts are at the lower level of consciousness. However, if you raise your consciousness up to a higher level, you are now aware of the connectedness of everything. You have access to higher levels of thought, and at the same time, you have more powerful thoughts. Not only can you receive higher level information and knowing on this channel, but you can transmit and communicate to others and the universe on this channel as well. It is at this higher level of consciousness that you realize not only how easy it is to change the meaning of the situation, but you are also more powerful in doing so. While your God power is always in action, asserting meanings in situations or confirming them, it takes a higher level of consciousness to use it in a more powerful way on purpose, deliberately. At the lower levels of consciousness, you might have to be tricked into believing that a sugar pill will cure you. However, at the higher level of consciousness, you don't even need the charade of a pill. You just say, "I'm cured," and you are. That is because at a higher level of consciousness, you know that you can do this and have it happen. You are conscious of the ways the universe works and the power of your thoughts and decisions. You have more belief and confidence in your ability at a higher consciousness level. At the lower level, you are not even aware that that kind of thing is possible, much less being able to do it successfully. At the lower levels of consciousness and understanding, you feel that the only way to fix a problem is to fight someone or move away or change jobs or just by accepting your fate. While at the higher levels of consciousness, you can actually see how the situation is working out perfectly for you just the way it is. You can see the opportunities available to you. You see the bigger picture and how it all fits together perfectly for you. At a higher level of consciousness, you can communicate to others and the universe in a telepathic way, while at the lower levels, you must make a phone call or send an email. You can only do and achieve a higher level of success while at the higher levels of consciousness. You can't talk to someone on channel 10 if you're on channel 1. You can't get channel 10 type ideas and insights while you're thinking at a consciousness level of 1. When you raise up your consciousness level, you are thinking and understanding the bigger picture and are more powerful in your ability to act on it. That is higher consciousness, seeing the bigger picture from a higher vantage point and having the ability to act on it in a more effective way. That is one of the main goals of this book, to raise up your level of understanding on how everything works and how you can easily create the life of your dreams through the use of your God power. When you are fully conscious of how everything works at a higher level, you can make high-level changes in meaning that are more powerful and more effective in your own experience. An example of higher consciousness awareness would be your understanding that your brain is only a physical representation of your knowledge and function, and that any information you already have or want is available to you outside of your physical brain. At that level of consciousness and awareness, you can easily access information that you know you wouldn't physically have. And because at that level you think you can, you can. Whereas at the lower level of consciousness and awareness, where you believe that you are only physical, you would think that the only thing that you could possibly know is that which you have already read or learned yourself. You wouldn't be able to access anything that wasn't physical because at that level you wouldn't believe that you could, so you couldn't. Your level of consciousness and awareness dictates what you think you can and can't do, what you can and can't know. It affects your beliefs and understandings. Another example of levels of consciousness is if you had a terrible disease. At a higher level of consciousness and understanding, you could cure yourself with the thought, because your awareness of how things work at this level would allow you to easily do this, while at the lower level of consciousness, awareness, and understanding, you would need actual medicine, because your consciousness, awareness, and beliefs at that level would only support the normal way of curing yourself. It is the main purpose of this book to raise your consciousness to such a high level of understanding and awareness that you realize that you are unlimited. You can know anything and everything that you want to know. You can be anything and everything that you want to be. You can do anything and everything that you want to do, and you can have anything and everything that you want to have. At the highest levels of consciousness, you will recognize this to be true.
To continue, go to How to Use Your God Power, Chapter number 8, Segment number 3. Let your quest for knowing continue.